Happy Tuesday. It is February the 10th. Here we are again, and we have talked about the mayor's role in the last few days. We preceded that with talking about the council's role. You are going to elect your council. You are going to elect your mayor in the upcoming election on May 11th. But this is how your municipal government is structured. So you're going to elect this top half of municipal decision making. You will not elect, we will not elect the staff of the municipal district of St. Stephen. The staff are overseen by the CAO, the Chief Administrative Officer. Now, I am going to get a bit into the weeds here. So if that's not your thing, you can just take this. I'm just going to say we have a Chief Administrative Officer in the municipal district of St. Stephen, and that is that. Have a nice day. All right, if you're still here, you are a total geek. And I know this can be getting kind of technical, but I want to explain to you exactly what the CAO does and how the relationship between the CAO and the council is structured. When I say the council, I do include the mayor because we do have that council CAO model in New Brunswick and largely across Canada. Why do we need a CAO? And I am a history buff, so I can't help but having gone into the history of politics, and especially basically when you had towns springing up, whether it's in Canada or the US, you had this technical challenge starting up where you needed infrastructure, you needed to talk about public safety, public health, that kind of thing. And so in that collective, if you just had elected officials overseeing every single aspect of public infrastructure, public safety, public health, all those things, well, then you had a couple of problems. First of all, it would turn over again and again with every election. But second of all, then you had basically favors being given out, right? You had politicians saying, elect me, and if you do, I will make you the head of public works. Elect me, and if you do, I will make you the treasurer. I will make you. So it's kind of parsing out these lucrative municipal city town roles, and we realized as a society that is not the best way to run a municipality. You can imagine the chaos that would result if that were the case in St. Stephen or any city or town you've lived in. In fact, I'm reading this incredible Pulitzer Prize winning tome right now called The Power Broker. This is basically what happened in New York in the late 1800s. It was all about politicians in New York, the major cities in the US, where basically the politicians would campaign on giving out as a reward those positions, those posts of power. We have an elected council in St. Stephen and New Brunswick and across the country. You elect those people, but the staff is essentially run by the Chief Administrative Officer, and it is very important. That's why I folded a sheet of paper, if you recall, from a few days ago, that those two things do not intersect. And tomorrow I want to talk more about the implications of this model, because I do get asked a lot from the average kind of person just living their lives in St. Stephen. I don't understand the CAO. How much power do they have? It seems like sometimes they're running the town. Who's running the show here? Is the council running the staff, or is the CAO running the council and the staff? I hear complaints about it, et cetera, et cetera. So what I want to talk about is the way that it is set up. Like I said, today is just basically saying we have a CAO. Where does that come from? If you're interested, it comes from say it with me now, the Local Governance Act, right? That is where the municipality gets its power and authority from the province. So reading directly from basically this is part 7 of the Local Governance Act, officers and employees. Every municipality must appoint a clerk and a treasurer and an auditor Mercifully, we're not going to get into those roles. I don't think we ever will. We have them. They're important. They're mandated. Great. But this is the second part, 71.2. A council may appoint the officers that are necessary for the administration of the local government. You see, that's plural. The officers that are necessary for the administration of the local governance. Remember, this is our solution to campaign favors and exchanging and the turnover of all the roles in your administering our town being consolidated in the hands of politicians. We absolutely don't want that. So what has happened then is with that power in section 81 under powers and duties of different officers. So the Local Governance Act starts to talk about the powers and duties of the treasurer, the powers and duties of the clerk, the powers and duties of the auditor, those three essential roles in municipal government. Well, under 801, it says the chief administrative officer of a local government has the powers and duties that the council prescribes by bylaw or resolution. So the power grants that, the province grants that power to the municipality, and then the municipality goes ahead and creates a bylaw that creates that position. And we do have that in St. Stephen. It is bylaw 07-23, a bylaw respecting the duties and powers of the chief administrative officer. And so today I'm going to end here. Hey, that was a short video. I did it. Because basically, like I said, what I wanted to say was we do have a CAO. We do follow this very important model. We do see problems and breakdowns when it is not a clear line between who reports to who and who is directing what. And that's very clear in the mind of the residents and of the council, okay? So tomorrow I'm going to extrapolate a little bit more. Again, if you're not interested in this, you can skip it. But I'm a hopeless geek and a history buff. So again, I refrain from talking too much about the history of the CAO. But this model is very strong. That's why we use it. But it needs to function well. And in order to function well, everyone needs to be clear on their role. That is laid out in a couple of things. This bylaw respecting the duties and powers of the chief administrative officer in St. Stephen, but also in the code of conduct and also in the procedural bylaws. Okay, so I talked to you about kind of the fire hose of documents that if you're just wading into municipal politics, you can think like, there's just too much. Where do I find a foothold or a handhold? And a couple of videos ago, I talked about, we're just talking about really 6 or 7 now. I just introduced a 7th bylaw that really does a lot of the heavy lifting and how things should and do work, and how they will work when I am your mayor. So if you're interested in this stuff, join me tomorrow. I do want to delineate and answer some of those questions that I hear about, like who's running the show? I'm not going to answer that. I'll show you. I'll show you and tell you how the show should be run under this Canadian model, the bylaws in New Brunswick and in St. Stephen. All right. Thanks. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow, Wednesday.